The discussion is homeschooling. So let's just say if you have a child or you're just looking for general information, how it was and changed, meaning when I was there and how things have changed, because I'm keeping up on what is currently happening. And I'm going to give some scenarios that you may be able to relate to, being that I was homeschooled and currently know parents that are going through the same issues or even worse. I believe this information may be able to help you. Now, when it comes to the United States of America and the educational system, it's safe to say that either you have to be lucky or pay for a good education. Well, personally for me, I was lucky. I went from a public school system to homeschool. And I basically was a lab rat, also my teachers as well, for the experiment of homeschool. And the reason why I said I was lucky is because, well, it was all started from scratch, more or less. The government was basically funding whatever system, and there were really good teachers and students. And so let me tell you how this all worked out. Being that this was a new system, the people involved wanted to make sure this played out right. So what happened? Let me give you an example. There was a time when my teacher would not respond to my emails and messages, and I wasn't the only student going through this issue with this particular teacher. And back at that time, we were using dial-up, so I would send my homework through like WordPad, even though I was supposed to send it through US mail, but we were learning at that time it was a new thing. And so she would not respond. And so finally she called me at the last moment and gave me all this bullshit. And she was raising her voice at me. And I told her, I'm not your husband or your son. Don't raise your voice at me. She got so mad she hung up the phone on me. And I said, you fucking fat cunt, what were you thinking? I was thinking that in my head. And so I contacted the principal, and make a long story short, she was released. They did not want her there anymore. And you're probably thinking, wow, you must have been a really good student. Well, I was a good student. I did cross my T's and dot my I's. But they did not get rid of her because of me, or anybody else for that matter. It's because it was a new system, and they wanted to make a good, positive impression. Okay? Like I said, they were being funded. And so what they were trying to do is get all the bad teachers out. Get the bad students out as well. One other thing you have to keep in mind. This was a new faculty. People were not friends with each other. Kind of like if you were to go to a university setting, everybody knows everybody. Everybody is protecting each other's asses. Even if they're wrong and you're right, it doesn't matter. But in this situation, nobody knew each other, and they had to make that impression. It was so important in order for this system, this school, to keep going. And so throughout my high school, years, well, everything went as planned. There were very little issues, and the teachers were excellent. And guess what? I would always remember talking to them, and they would tell me, I'm moving on. And I said, well, what do you mean you're moving on? They're like, well, things are changing here, but at that time I did not quite understand what was happening or what was to come. The school, being that they made that impression that they want, they got that money, well, they were making the teachers do more work for less pay. And there were other things going on behind the scenes that I wasn't aware of. And at some point, these teachers were like, hey, I'm going. The bad teachers started to come in, and the bad students. Because the students were thinking, yeah, I'm going to be homeschooled. No one's going to tell me what to do, yada, yada, yada. Little did they know, it takes work, and they would get kicked out or get a poor education because now you have lazy students, lazy teachers. So that is where we're at currently today. And it took maybe 4 to 6 years for this to really be put into motion. Now parents are finding out that if they put their child into whatever homeschool, whether it's online, I don't give a fuck what it is. My advice is this: if you don't assume anything, okay? Don't assume, well, I had one good teacher, so they're all going to be like that. Absolutely not. Now you have to keep in mind that this is no longer a new system anymore. The years have gone by. Teachers know teachers. Faculty, well, they're all in it for themselves. Let me tell you a situation a good friend of mine got into. She's been keeping track of her son's work. Guess what? The teachers and everybody else put this poor kid behind schedule. The faculty, the teachers, and everybody were doing their job. This would never have happened. And also with the IEP, or a lot of things that just students go through on a yearly basis, okay? She's going through all these issues. And when I was homeschooled, I never had any of those issues because people were following the schedule. Now, everyone's so sloppy. They're not doing their job the way they should. Not prepared. Less passionate, have to do more work but not receive the pay for the work. So you have to look at how the teachers are stressed, and then everything boils down. Everything kind of is like a domino effect. And so that is what's currently happening. Parents are kind of like, well, what do we do? And this is where I said in the beginning of the video, either you have to be lucky or you have to pay for your education. What do I mean by that? You have to pay for tutors, and you have to screen people. When I was at the university setting, I was a tutor, okay? I was not funded by my school. No, what I did is I became a tutor. I got handwritten letters from people who I tutored, and they have to be handwritten. They can't be email crap, because anyone can type that bullshit up. Real people who said, this guy Nicholas does a great job. Those are the type of tutors you have to fucking hire. You just can't go to the normal everyday homeschooled or public school or whatever school and expect that to happen. It's not gonna happen because you're one of the many who came through that door, and that door is off its hinges and falling apart. The foundation is gone, so don't expect anything to be rebuilt from that. It has to be completely torn down, and something has to be rebuilt over that in order to make anything work. This didn't happen overnight. Our educational system, I don't care if you go to the best fucking schools, okay? The best colleges. I'm in college now. And some of the people that I tutor went to the best schools, and they don't know how to write essays. They don't know how to do basic math. They cheat on their cell phones because they don't know what to do. Some of their teachers are just in the same situation because neither do they know what they're doing. So it's kind of like just a poor, mediocre system. That's what I wrote on one of my reviews to, I think to the chairperson. I said, this is a mediocre system because your best teachers are not the best at all. It's just the best you can find. But I'm the one who's fucking paying for it. And that's another video in and of itself when you actually pay for your education. You want the best you can find. And it's so tough, and I feel for people who are going through this because I had to go through the ground up, and I was lucky. I jumped on things, I paid attention, and I managed to get in when people were questioning. They're like, oh, this is bad, you better not do it. And I just said, I'm going in, I have nothing to lose. I'm already in a terrible system anyway. So if I jump into an even terrible one, I'll just jump right out and find something else. And people were just too afraid to do so. If you see any new opportunities, okay, and if you don't have to pay for it, see what it's about. Yes, waste your time, see what it's about, because you never know what you're going to get. When I jumped on board with homeschool years ago, it was a joke, but it was the best thing at that time because people wanted it to work, but you got to find the right people, okay? It's kind of like this. A teacher goes to college, earns an education, but does that mean that particular teacher will be a good one? No. But there are some who follow the same education, who graduate, who are a great teacher, okay? Excellent teacher. But you have to think of it like that with schools. Add it up. Connect the dots, okay? If there's a group of people who don't know how to do their job and it's made up of faculty, just don't bother with it. Don't waste your time. Don't waste your money, especially if you're paying for it. Oh my God, if you're paying for it, you better be on their ass. I'm telling you. So I hope I helped you in this video, and please take my advice. It will save you a shitload of time. Okay, peace.